Donut Bag is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Your data is your business. Protect it with ExpressVPN. For 3 extra months free with a 1-year package, go to the link listed in my Twitter profile. Well, the worst possible thing happened at the worst possible time for the Penguins. Tristan Jarry got hurt. Yeah. Tristan Jarry broke his foot, and that might have sunk the whole season. Angie Carducci, what are we doomed?
You know, you can never say never, right? I think you look at times that things like this have happened to the Penguins, and you always have the possibility that a backup goalie rises up. And that has happened for the Penguins. It's happened for other teams. So, Casey DeSmith has been playing reasonably well for them. And, who knows? Maybe Louis Domingue comes in and has something to say here, and there's some exciting arc that comes out of nowhere that we didn't see coming. But it is indeed the worst possible thing that could have happened at the worst possible time. And it's really just an absolute shame. I think the person I feel worst for is Tristan Jarry, because he has spent the entire season working so hard to prove not only his credentials as a goaltender on the ice, but to prove his mental toughness, to prove he can get over that hump of what happened to him in the postseason last year, and that he was ready to come in this season and make a case for himself. And the whole season, all we've been saying is nobody's going to believe it until he gets to the postseason and proves himself there. And now he may not get that opportunity at all. So it's really a shame. It's a shame for the Penguins, but I really feel bad for Tristan Jarry. He deserved better than that.
He was thinking about it. That's all he was thinking about too, is I can't wait to get to the postseason to prove myself, because he did have a good regular season. I'm like, heck, he made the All-Star team. And then for this to happen, wow. Yeah, just feel bad for him. Feel bad for the team, but this kind of could have been prevented, right? They could have done something. They could have done something at the trade deadline. They could have acquired somebody before the season. They could have done something, but they didn't.
In theory, and that's the first thing you think of when this happens. You think, wow, all I kept thinking at the trade deadline was, boy, they're really riding this Casey DeSmith is playing better thing, and they're going to go with that. And if something happens to Tristan Jarry, you're going to be sorry. But unfortunately for the Penguins, I think what it came down to really was an either or situation. What are you going to improve? Are you going to improve your forward group with the acquisition of somebody like a Ricard Raquel, which is what they did? Or are you going to improve the goaltending and what was available at the deadline? So, like, my preferred goalie at the deadline, the one person that really moved was Marc-Andre Fleury, who I did not like for the Penguins. I just didn't think that was a fit. As much as I love Marc-Andre Fleury as a goalie and as a person, I just don't think it was a fit here. And the goalie I would have liked to have seen them consider was somebody like a Braden Holtby, who ended up not moving. Dallas elected to keep him. So I just don't know the options were there, and I don't know that they had the money or the assets to make a run at adding something else in addition to upgrading the forward group, and they decided they needed to put the resources there. That's what they chose, and that's where we are. So I think the Penguins feel like their goaltending could be solid enough for them. And I do feel like their goaltending could be solid enough for them. What I think won't happen, that Tristan Jarry could have done for you, is I think Tristan Jarry can steal games. And I don't think you're going to see their goaltending steal many games for them. So if they're counting on that, they're probably not going to get that. So if they feel like they're going to get away with playing the way they've played a little bit in the second part of the season, and that their goalie is going to be the person to step up and save them from that sort of play, they probably need to rethink that. They probably are going to need to step up a lot as a team in front of their goaltender here.
I think that's the key right there. They're going to have to step up for their goaltender. I think that's the key. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And I think that's what they're going to try to do instead of playing a little bit aggressive and irresponsible. Maybe they'll be smart and
Mhm.
just play a tight defensive game around DeSmith or Domingue or whoever it is, and just play like a tight game, and like, I don't know, playoff games, and and win that way. I think it's possible, and I think they can do it.
Well, that's seeing the bright side of it for sure. And I think if you look at the first half of the season and the way they were playing to start the season, they were such a disciplined team, and the way they were playing largely while they were missing key players from their lineup. So the Penguins have a history of doing that. They have a history of when they are missing big players from their lineup, when they're facing serious adversity. Like, how many more players can we lose? How many more high quality players can we lose from the lineup? They find a way to step up and come together as a team and beat the odds. And so if you're going to approach it like that, like, okay, we have this big odds to beat right now where we have our starting goalie out. And so as a team, we're going to need to reassess and reapproach and maybe approach the way we did earlier in the season. That could definitely be a positive. And I think, frankly, the Penguins aren't going anywhere in the playoffs if they don't reassess their game and start playing that way again. For me, it comes down to, can they? Because I wonder if it's an issue of that they haven't approached the game the same way, or I wonder if it's an issue of they are a little bit out of gas at this point of the season and looking like a team that has a few older players, still has that core intact they've had all of these years, and are still trying to be a skating team, and maybe they're not able to keep up with the teams that are the skating teams that are a little bit younger and a little bit faster. So I wonder what exactly it is. Is it a will thing or is it an ability thing? But if it's a will thing, I think they have every opportunity here to step it up.
It sure does seem like they're out of gas. And I just thought of something. Is this the first full season they've played in like 3 years?
It is.
Uh-huh. I mean, it's an older team, and that might have something to do with it. But yeah, when you have like a number of players struggling at the same time at the end of the season, you kind of think maybe, yeah, maybe they're a little tired.
Yeah, they've looked like an old team recently. They just have
Yeah.
looked like a team that's lost a step, and that's trying to play the same way as when they were the team establishing that speed game that every other team started to try to emulate, except now they can't quite play that game anymore. So I worry about them as the season has gone on. Is this team showing some signs of slowing down a little bit, and has the grind of the season just caught up with them?
Not only are they dealing with that, there are 5 games left. They have 97 points. The Capitals have 6 games left, and they have 96 points. The Capitals are right behind the Penguins. The Penguins have a real chance of not playing the Rangers in the first round, but playing probably Florida. Oh my goodness. I think that might be a worst case scenario.
That's as bad as it gets, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Yeah, I don't know. You look at the Rangers in Carolina and Florida, and they're all really quality opponents. But for me, I think Florida's just a different tier altogether. They are a fast team, also a big team that can play physical. Like they really just have it all. I think they're such a complete team, and I, I I don't envy the team that goes up against them. If that's the Penguins, I think that's a real short series.
Yeah, they have it all. They have it all. And yeah. Um, the other factor is, we talk about how Jari really wanted to prove himself. I think there's a lot of players that want to prove themselves on this team. You know, they've really failed in the postseason the past few years, and you know that's not sitting well with at least Crosby, and I'm sure a lot of players on that team. So there might be a lot of players trying to prove themselves.
Well, I think they are all very cognizant of the fact that this is probably, we talk every year about how could this be the last chance with this team.
Yeah.
And I think this year, this is in fact the last chance with this team. Like I just don't think you're going to see the team come back with exactly this same core of players next year. I don't think you can. So I think, Crosby, we know Crosby's back, but after that, I think there's a lot of dice up in the air. I think Evgeny Malkin probably will be back, but he's going to have to accept a little bit of a pay cut, a little bit less money, fewer years than he would potentially get elsewhere. I think he probably will. But then I look at like Chris Letang's situation, and I still feel like he has a lot of mileage left, even for his age. And I feel like he has shown this year that he has developed into a more patient player, a more mature player. There are fewer, maybe in the second half of the season, there have been a few more mental mistakes that you've seen creep back into his game, and it's a little bit more bad decision making. But I think that's been sort of a feature of the whole team in the second half of the season, and I can't just blame Chris Letang for that. But yeah, I think he's a special player who will be really hard to replace, but he has every reason in the world to decide to go to his hometown next year. And I would be a little bit surprised at this point if he doesn't take that opportunity. So Chris Letang could easily be gone. Brian Rust is going to make a lot of money on the open market, and I just don't see him taking a loyalty discount to stay with the Penguins when he could. This is probably his last chance at the big contract. This is his big free agency year, and why would he do that? He
Yeah.
shouldn't. He should look out for himself, and he should go for it. And he's going to make a lot of money. So I think there are players you're not going to see back. So that should be motivation for them too. Hey, we wanted one more run at it. This is the last chance for this group, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I if I were to guess, not that I am an expert on foot injuries, but I would guess that maybe Jarry would miss part of the first round, maybe the whole thing. I also have a feeling he would probably like do his best to try to come back, even if he wasn't 100%, because I can't imagine him wanting, I'm sure he was just dying to get out there.
I'm sure, but then on the other hand, I feel like, and he especially should be concerned about this. What damage do you do to the team and also
Yeah.
potentially to yourself? Like, not just physically, because I'm always concerned about that. I hate players going out there and playing injured. Just not a fan of players trying to do that. It's in the long run, it's not good for your long-term well-being. Just, if you can take the time and heal, you should really try to do it. And I know players will play with injuries in the playoffs. They do, and that is what it is. But I feel like for Tristan Jarry, even reputationally and for his long-term career, uh, would you want to come out there and potentially be shelled because you're not at 100%? Because think about how much a goalie uses their foot. Like you really spring off of your feet a lot. Like that's
Yeah.
just a really important body part as a goaltender. I just would hate to see him go out there and rush himself back and potentially get himself lit up. And then you hear how Tristan Jarry is just not built for, oh, he was fine in the regular season, but look, when you put the pressure on, here he goes. Here we are.
Yeah.
Playoff Tristan Jarry showed up again. I would hate that
Yeah.
for him. So I hope he doesn't. I hope he waits till he's well. But yeah, with an injury like that, I don't see him in the first round. So
Yeah.
Penguins are going to have to do their darndest to get out of that one without him. And yeah, that's good luck to them because they do not have an easy opponent, whoever it is.
Right. Yeah. Even if it's the Rangers, that's not exactly an easy opponent. So that'll be
Well,
interesting.
you got Casey DeSmith against Igor Shesterkin. So how do you like that matchup?
Well, when you put it that way,
Right? I've been thinking about that all day. I'm like, oh, oh my.
I just got a lot sadder right now. That's yeah, when you put it that way.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but
you're
it's
not gonna see
facts, you know.
too many headlines. The Smith outduels Shesterkin. It's not gonna. But hey, you never
A-
know. You never
As I
know.
said, the team's going to need to step up in front of them. Like that's what's going to have to happen. So yeah, I just that's and really I think one thing that's going to have to happen if that's the matchup is the Penguins are going to have to get a lot more aggressive with Shesterkin because I felt like they lost their last three meetings against the Rangers, and I felt like a big part of that was the Penguins being very intimidated by him and just not
Yeah,
putting the shots on him that they perhaps should have. And Mike Sullivan had these comments about when he was asked about it, like, are you putting the number and quality of shots on him that you should? Like maybe just start shooting from anywhere, even if it's not the ideal shot. Stop trying to set up the perfect shot. Just, get shots off from where you can. And he was talking about how they're not really a team that just shoots from anywhere, and that's not how they're constructed. And I never really understood that response. I think when you're playing a player like that, um, you just you have to maximize your chances. Like obviously don't take a shot if it's going to put you in a potentially bad situation that an opportunity is going to come the other way. But I think you have to take shots. I think you have to take a lot of shots against a goalie like that. And they just looked like a team that was intimidated by him. So that's going to
yeah,
have to go away really quick.
yeah. I think he's in their head. I think he does. I think they are intimidated by him, and that's scary.
Yeah, they looked
So
like it.
yeah, but that's the beauty of a 7 game series is you, you just you just get to play you get because you play them over and over again. You kind of hopefully make adjustments. Hopefully can change some things up and see if that works.
You would hope. And I think they have some options. I think they have, one thing that adding at their forward depth with Raquel really did is I think they have two really scary top forward lines at this point. So I really like him on the top line with Crosby and Gensel. And I really like, if you have a second line with Evgeny Malkin with, Jason Zucker and Brian Rust, assuming that everybody stays healthy on this two top lines, which for the Penguins has been a pretty big assumption. But if you can keep all of those players healthy, like that's a really fearsome couple of lines, and that's hard for a lot of teams to match up against. So I feel like that gives you an advantage, right off the top. So they definitely have options. They have ways that they can look at changing up the looks that they give to a team like the Rangers, and maybe adjust throughout a series. So curious to see how that goes.
Do you think Raquel being with Crosby and Gensel is a permanent thing?
I think they're going to keep it for a little bit. I think that the Malkin suspension has given them an opportunity to take a look at it. And I just think that he really has meshed well with that line. I think he's a complementary player with just his speed, the way he sees the game. He's a really good, he just seems to be a smart hockey player and a good playmaker. Just really seems complementary to the way that those two see and think the game. I think he's just been a great fit on the line. And I think a player like Rust has proven that he has a lot of good chemistry with Malkin so far, and Zucker on that line is, to me, is a bigger key than we've given him credit for a lot of his Penguins career. He just really, when he's healthy and on that line, he really helps free up space and make things happen for those other two. So I just really like the way those two lines sort themselves out, and I do end up liking Raquel a little more with Crosby and Gensel. So I think they've had an opportunity to look at it, and I do think they like it. So I think it may well start that way in the playoffs. And as we said, they certainly have the opportunity to make adjustments.
So 5 more games in the regular season, a week and a half, and then the playoffs starts. And oh boy, I just hope it's interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
even if the Penguins don't win, make it make it close. Don't get blown out or something like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just, I think fans, I feel like fans really need to pay a lot more attention to that 16-year playoff streak that
Yeah,
they just established. Like every team has these down years after a lot of years of success, and we've seen Chicago go through it and LA go through it. And the Penguins may be coming up on their turn. I hate to say it, but it is entirely possible the Penguins are coming up on their turn to go through those lean years. It just might be about time. And every team does it. But I don't think they're an organization that's going to go through it like, say, Detroit. Look at how many years Detroit fell off so spectacularly after their long playoff streak. And it just they're back on the upswing now with a lot of young exciting players and look like they're starting to really build something. But really took them a while to find their footing. And I don't feel like the Penguins are going to go through an extended period of difficulty like that. But they may have a few years where they just drop off and they are not really Stanley Cup contenders. And if that's the way it works out, I think, I look at the fan expectations of the Penguins, and absolutely the fans expect them to win the Stanley Cup every year, and the organization expects that of itself. So the fans aren't far off in expecting that, when the team expects that of itself. But I think if you look at the opportunity that you've had as a Penguin fan and the number of years that you've had such success, so many Stanley Cups, so many star players. You went from the Yager Lemieux years to the Crosby Malkin years. It's just been such an embarrassment of riches. And maybe, like you said, like maybe this year you just watch the playoffs from the standpoint of enjoying the ride, however long it lasts. And if they don't get out of the first round again, then it's a terrible disappointment. It is, but maybe you enjoy it for what it is, and you enjoy those games for the fact that I know this team is going to put their all into them because they really want to win. Nobody wants to win more than Crosby and Malkin, in my opinion. They just, Letang is there too. I mean, those players want to win so desperately, and they're going to give their all to this. So, as long as they're out there doing everything they can to win, how can you criticize that? And if they just didn't have it, like maybe they just didn't have it this time, and only one team out of the 32 in the league gets to win the Stanley Cup. So can't be your team every single year.
yeah. I mean, this team and this core have given us so many great memories over the last, my God, 16 years. It's
Yep,
so impressive to make the playoffs every single year. That's amazing. Yeah,
it's
if they don't
incredible.
win, I hate to say it, but if they don't win, I'm fine. I'm fine. We the winning back-to-back cups it was not that far, was not that long ago. So I still have great memories from that. So yeah,
How
it'd
many
be
fan
nice.
bases would be so fortunate to have that? Like, think of the number of fan bases that
Yeah,
has never seen that in their life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. I was thrilled when they won in the early 90s.
Yeah.
I was just so
Oh yeah,
happy.
that was the first time you got to see it. It was a huge deal for the franchise and for their fans. Yeah, I was around for that one. That was super exciting. So I think just all of it, just being able to watch this franchise over all of these years, and see all of that talent pass through, and all of the excitement and memories that they've given their fans. And it's really been something special. And I think as a fan base, the Penguins fan base has been so fortunate. So I know that won't make it easier if they bow out in the first round again, but I think I think it's definitely worth taking a minute to appreciate the perspective of how fortunate it has been for all of these years, and the fact that nothing does last forever, and pretty much every team that goes through extended success does have those few years that they sort of have to regroup and rebuild a little bit. And the Penguins may be on the verge of that. So if they are, that might be something kind of fun too. I'm also the person who, when they have a lot of injuries, I enjoy seeing the call ups from the AHL, and seeing, who kind of rises to the top, and the new talents. So I think there's fun in every situation that an organization encounters. So maybe it's just going to be a different kind of fun.
We'll have a remake of Sid and the Kids.
Yeah, that sounds really fun. I think Sid would enjoy that. Like, it might
Yeah.
not be winning Stanley Cups every year, which is what he would enjoy most, but I think he would enjoy that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Always great talking to you. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, this was really fun. Thanks so much.
All right. I'll see you.
See ya.